welcome to Asia Gaming Brief's podcast series. Today I'm talking with Bill Mummery. He's the CEO of Celton Manx and one of the best known figures in the world of sports betting. Today we're going to be talking about Bill's new live dealer studio, which has recently been set up on the Isle of Man. We'll also be talking about some of the sustainability issues facing the online gaming industry. So thanks very much for joining me here today, Bill. See that you launched the Isle of Man's first live dealer casino studio last year. Can you tell us a little bit how it's going, first of all?
Yeah, of course. In fact, as you say, it was the first of such ventures. One of the very pleasing things was that whilst we obviously have the technical skills within the business, the fact that we were able to build the facility during COVID and having regard for materials and equipment as well as skill sets, the whole thing materialized just within 3 months, which was a fantastic achievement. I guess the decision to go ahead with the investment was driven in part by COVID, of course, and a realization that when you are operating a global platform and live dealer casino is extremely integral and important when you're serving the Asian market, it was a little bit of a wake-up call that having one location for a live studio was in itself a little bit of a risk. So as I guess with quite a lot of businesses, for all of the torment that we've been going through and continue to some extent, COVID has caused us to step back, reassess your business continuity and your business plans and say, actually, now is the time to do X, Y, Z. And the live dealer casino was part of that. Delighted with its performance from day one. Delighted that in the middle of COVID, it created some 25 to 30 local jobs here in the Isle of Man, which relative to the size of our community, that was a welcome bonus to get the thing live using locally recruited staff.
That was actually going to be my next question, the impact of COVID-19 and how that has helped expand the base. But do you see it also perhaps as being what's going to be a fairly essential tool for land-based operators going forward?
Absolutely, I do. I mean, if you take serious sports bettors, by which I mean people that do their homework, analyze any and all statistics that are available, and focus on the higher end of the leagues, European, the Premier League from the UK and so forth, they are very well informed. They're very dedicated to what they do. It's not for them a simple leisure product. They take it somewhat more seriously. And actually, live dealer, if you look at how the soccer moves from Europe to the UK to another time zone, the live dealer is a mechanism which they use and they enjoy as those time shifts take place. So They've finished maybe 3 games in the Bundesliga or whatever. They're waiting for a next set of games to kick off, literally, in a time zone that maybe only be 1 hour different. And whilst they're doing their homework around all of that, then the live dealer casino has quite an attraction.
Are you seeing any particular trends in new games in live dealer, or is it very much the classics that are still in demand?
Yes, it is. It's very much the classic because they're highly repeatable. It's very easy to demonstrate that they are completely without bias, and therefore they're well accepted.
What about localization? If your dealers are sourced locally, I've seen they tend to prefer dealers who look like they are in various markets. How does that play?
You'd be surprised just how cosmopolitan the populace of the Isle of Man is, and I would say more than 50% of the current team would not, and I don't like using these terms, but would not be perceived as being Caucasian. That they have an element of internationality about them. I mean, it's got nothing to do with our industry. Well, it has indirectly through software and companies like microgaming and so on. But the second biggest population group in the Isle of Man today, at about 8,000, is the South African population.
You mentioned sustainability. Let's move on to that, because as part of your live dealer, just looking at your slides of the solar panels and the Tesla panels, very exciting stuff. Tell us how important that is to have that stability in electric supply.
Well, there's a slight irony in as much as I just mentioned, quality of supply of the national reticulated supply would today be a real USP. So the decision to make that investment was not predicated on addressing a risk within the existing infrastructure. It was a first step towards a sustainability goal. Again, one of the pleasing things was that the whole design and implementation of those systems, the 120 panels, the 3 Tesla walls that manage the system, all of that was sourced and installed locally. So we're not short of skill set when it comes to these things. We decided that we had to be seen to make a contribution. As our industry progresses, then the nature of its systems, developments, and so on means we will become more avaricious in our consumption of power, bigger data centers, more powerful equipment, so on and so forth. So we do have an obligation, probably more so than some other industries, to take it seriously, because we are fairly high up on the scale when it comes to the amount of power that we consume. 4 years ago, if we'd have been building the studio, you would have ended up with a diesel generator in the corner of the car park somewhere. We decided we weren't going to go down that route, and we did our research, obviously, but the installation that we've completed, one is working beyond specification and beyond expectation. It's certainly covering the needs of our studio and more. There are times when we're selling power back onto the national grid, and we definitely are making a measurable contribution. And over the next 2 to 3 years, I can see that growing significantly.
One last question on the industry as a whole. How do you see online gaming evolving in the next sort of couple of years? Where do you see us going from here? Do you see more jurisdictions perhaps regulating, with COVID being a bit of an impetus, or do you see it going the other direction? How do you see the evolution?
Well, first of all, I absolutely think it's a stimulus to taking a view as economies that tax and regulate is the sensible way forward, as opposed to some form of prohibition. And I think it is at least 20 years old now as an industry, and we've equipped ourselves very well. And I think we've given, by and large, a very good account of ourselves. Clearly, we have our detractors. Clearly, we are under the spotlight in a number of ways. But the reality is that we really have behaved in a very responsible way as an industry, as we were growing and learning lessons.
Thank you for joining us today. With me, I've been talking to Bill Mummery, who is the CEO of Celton Manx.
Yep, watch this space. Very nice to chat.